If you need pen and paper, please sit with that and be ready. Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru. You need pen and paper. Sarvakaryeshu sarvada. Tvameva mata cha pita tvameva. Tvameva bandhu cha sakha tvameva. Tvameva vidya dravinam tvameva. Tvameva sarvam mama deva deva. Kayena vacha manasendriyeva. Buddhyatmana va prakriti svabhava. Karomi adyam sapalam parasmai. Narayanaye chisamarpayami. Narayanaye chisamarpayami. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara. Guru Sakshat Para Brahma. Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahe Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. 7 Jai Shri Krishna, and a very good evening and a warm welcome on a Thursday evening. So we are all ready, set to listen for a very informative chat from Dipesh Bhai, and then when we finish, we'll again repeat all the forthcoming events, just in case if anybody has missed it. જે કોઈ કદાચ મોડેથી જોડાણા હોય પાછા આપણે વાત કરી દેશું કે હવે પછીના ઇવેન્ટ્સ શું છે. But as always, before we start, we thank God. આપણે ખૂબ બધા સાથે મળી અને બધા આવા કાર્યો કરતા રહીએ છીએ, તો ભગવાનનો ખૂબ ખૂબ આભાર માનીએ છીએ કે આપણે આવી તક આપે છે, આપણે શક્તિ આપે છે. પણ જગતમાં દુનિયામાં અત્યારે ઘણા લોકો તકલીફમાં છે, તો એઝ ઓલવેઝ હંમેશની માફક આપણે બધા માટે પ્રાર્થના કરીએ કે પ્રભુ સૌની રક્ષા કરો, રક્ષા કરો, રક્ષા કરો, જગતમાં સૌની રક્ષા કરો. અને સ્પેશિયલી અત્યારે શ્રાદ્ધ ચાલે છે, આપણે બધા આપણા પિતરોને યાદ કરીએ છીએ અને બસ ભગવાનને પ્રાર્થના કરીએ કે જે કોઈ સદ્ગત આત્મા છે તેમને તમારા ચરણમાં સ્થાન આપજો અને પરમ શાંતિ આપજો અને જગતમાં સૌનું કલ્યાણ કરજો અને રક્ષા કરજો. જય શ્રી કૃષ્ણ. Over to you, Dipesh Bhai. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Jai Jinendra, everyone. A warm welcome to the RPM family, and thank you to Rohini Ben and Paresh Bhai for inviting me again, which I really appreciate. So today's presentation is all about the changing world of retirement planning. It's a very interesting talk. There is a lot of changes that have taken place, and these are the changes that you need to be aware of so that you can plan your financial planning in the correct way. As Rohini Ben said, if you've got any questions, please make a note of them. And then at the end of the presentation, we'll have time to go through the questions and the answers. Hopefully, the presentation will answer most of your questions, but if there's additional questions, of course, we will deal with those questions as well. So, Rohini Ben, if I can ask you to allow me to share screen.
Sure. Just a small request, if you can, અમુક શબ્દો જો આપણાથી થઈ શકે ગુજરાતીમાં બોલાય એવું હોય જ્યાં જ્યાં બોલી શકો. Otherwise, I will try my best. Like I'll narrow it down and overall view I can try and do it. But otherwise, don't worry. But if you can, if ખાલી અમુક important શબ્દો હોય જે like your jargons, you know, difficult ones. But if you can't, that's fine too.
The difficult ones are hard to pronounce in Gujarati as well.
That's okay. That's all right. Thank you.
Hopefully everyone can see the screen now. So yeah, well, welcome to today's presentation. My company is Oakdale Financial Services. We're part of St. James's Place, and I've been advising clients with financial planning since 2005. So over 16 years of industry experience. During that time, I'm pleased to say I've managed to help a lot of people with their planning. So let's have a look at today's presentation. So retirement planning is one of the most important topics in the world of financial planning right now. The reasons are simple, however, the challenges are complex. The important thing to remember is that it's more about planning than retirement. So in order to do this, you need to identify your goals, the challenges that beset you, and put a structured plan in place. This will reinforce the value of advice.
Sorry, Dipesh, is it possible for you to do the full screen?
Yeah. That's the just 1 second.
If you, yeah.
Just 1 second. Stop sharing.
Go and try that again.
Do I get this to do full screen?
Do you want to reopen the presentation and then go back into it as a shared, or go back into shared screen? So close it, come out of shared screen now.
Okay, stop the share, yeah.
And then open the, on your browser, reopen that, on your desktop, reopen the file.
Okay, yeah, I've opened it.
If you do put that in full screen and then go back to share, you should be able to see it from there. Some reason when you come out of it, it kind of you lose it. Yeah, that's better.
I think that's the maximum it's allowing me to do.
That's
perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah. So here we've got a picture with regards to pensions. Now, sometimes advice and engagement are critical, because a lot of times when we talk about pensions, when we're having conversations, the reaction to pensions looks like this. However, we want the reaction to be a little bit more animated. Maybe, of course, not this excited, but pensions, if you think about it now, they're a really powerful tool in terms of building an effective, tax-efficient, and financial planning strategy that can support your needs, your goals in retirement. So why plan for your retirement? It's important to have your own plan for retirement. In simple terms, we're all different, and state support has been reducing for many years now. Let's have a look at the good old days in 1976, just before I was born. So individuals had a retirement age at that point. There was a selected retirement age or a normal retirement date. and you got to retirement around about age 60 or 65, and you'd have the options of tax-free cash and annuity, no enhancements. And life expectancy, people were expected to live to early, maybe mid 70s. So what we're saying here is that the previous generations arguably had a simpler path to follow. The facts are that back in the good old days, people would work for the same employer all their lives. You would work 60, 65, retire, and then die a few years later. So if you think about this was an excellent system from the government point of view. Very sustainable. You work for a long time. You've got a few years to enjoy your retirement. So of course that system worked. But now, if we fast forward, things are very, very different. So that's what we're going to have a look at on the next slide now. So here, what we've got is the reality is that unfortunately now a lot more people they're retiring in fantastic health. They're continuing to live for a lot longer. So all of these will have an impact on your retirement planning. We must take into consideration life expectancy and longevity. So what this graph is showing you is life expectancy for males and females, 65 years old, has been increasing and is continuing to increase as well. And there's a number of reasons why this might be the case. So first of all, there's been advances or improvements in medicine. There is improved standards of living, improved awareness of nutrition, healthier lifestyle, and all of these are contributing to increased longevity. So there's a range of factors that are responsible for life expectancy increasing. So what we're saying is we're all living longer. Of course, that's absolutely great. But how do you fund a retirement that could be as long as your career? So if you think about it, previously you might have worked for 35, 40 years. Your retirement could be not far short of that. So what we need to make sure people understand is that longevity is often underestimated by many. And the length of time the pension pot may be needed to provide an income in retirement. So what we're saying is your retirement savings may need to last an awfully long time. So here what we have is living beyond 100 will soon be the norm. So already many newborns can expect to live to the age of 100. However, over the next couple of decades, the Office of National Statistics have said that the average life expectancy for all newborns will approach 100. So the traditional view was that life has 3 phases: infancy, education, work and retirement, and all of this is evolving now. So as you can appreciate, as you can imagine, this will have an enormous impact, especially on the younger generations. So we have some statistics here about millennials seeking more pension support. So 24% of millennials. So first of all, I'll read through some. I'll just go through some statistics with you. 24% of millennials don't have a pension. 27% don't believe that pensions are relevant to their generation. 66% have auto-enrolled for workplace schemes, the government schemes that have been set up to encourage people to save more for their pension, for their retirement. 23% say their current workplace or personal pension contribution is inadequate. 28% do not feel confident with money or financial matters. So there's still a big gap of people who are unsure about the best things to be doing with their money or with their planning. And 37% say they are saving as much as they can, but still do not think it is enough for a comfortable retirement. So what we're saying is many of these millennials are already recognizing that they don't know enough or have adequate resources to plan for a longer life. So these statistics reflect the need for more advice and support around pensions and financial planning. So let's fast forward to 2020 and beyond and see what the world of retirement planning will look like. So now there's no retirement age. Before it was 65, 66. Now there isn't actually any retirement age. This means that employers cannot make you retire. So as long as you're fit and healthy, you enjoy your work, you can carry on working. There's a demise of final salary schemes. So a long time ago, a lot more people were very lucky that they had final salary schemes. Now, of course, these final salary schemes have proved expensive for the employers because they have to ensure that the scheme is sufficiently funded. So what we've seen is a lot of final salary schemes have closed down. Members have come out of final salary schemes, just purely because they were very, very expensive. Very good if you had one, but the world is now changed with regards to those. There's a huge amount of choice, and unfortunately, they don't always make things very, very easy. They make things complicated, and therefore that means you're going to need more advice. Remember, we talked about longevity. So we're saying that you could retire at 65, 66, and you could end up living another 25 years. And we need to think about other assets that you could use to provide for retirement. So where will the money come from for retirement? So what we're saying is, in terms of building and maintaining an effective financial strategy, we know that the situation today is more complex. And as a result of this is going to impact on individuals and families in different ways, of course. This is certainly in stark contrast to the government messages around pension flexibility and pension freedom. So a few years ago, government has introduced a lot of changes. So let's have a look at what the changes were as a result of pension freedom. Simple choices. So with regards to pensions, your main choices are: you can go for an annuity, you can go for flexi access drawdown, or you can go for something called UFPLS, which has got a long name, but I'll cover that shortly. So before, it used to be you've got these simple options. You can choose one or a blend of all three. So there are government agencies, people like PensionWise. Now they can provide advice on these options, but what they can't do is they cannot provide specific recommendations on what you ought to do. Now we know that there is a massive difference between guidance and advice. So this simple flowchart illustrates the options of what you could do. Unfortunately, as you can see, it's not actually a very simple flowchart. There's lots of things going on. There's lots of lines, lots of decisions, and all of this means that we've got it's a complicated system which needs advice. Now, what we know is there's plenty of things that you can do, but that's not necessary. So this is telling you what you can do, but this is not necessarily what you should do. There is a difference, and the key thing is to understand the impact of any of these decisions that are taken. So here we're looking at accessing your wealth, when you can access it, and how you can access your money. So traditionally, advice around pensions, the advice you'd always were given was to save into them throughout your lifetime and then access them later in later life, i.e. when you get to retirement, and you can use this money to provide income or capital in retirement. However, due to changes in the tax treatment, the pensions may be the last thing we would encourage you to access your money from. So, for example, income from a pension. When you take income out from a pension, it's generally taxable at marginal rates, whereas withdrawals, or if you take out income from ISAs, cash ISAs or investment ISAs, they're going to be tax-free, whereas withdrawals from pensions after your 25% is subject to your normal rate of tax. The other things to consider with regards to pensions, that assets within a pension pot are generally not subject to inheritance tax on the first death. However, assets within an ISA would form part of your estate and potentially be subject to 40% tax. So some important considerations: if you've got ISA, if you've got pension, what we're trying to say is, where should you take the money out from? Where is it more effective? And where is it more efficient to take this money out from? So what we're saying here is that trusted advice is important. For us, it's about making sure that we give the right advice for your situation, your circumstances. So in simple terms, what we're saying is, whether you are saving for retirement, approaching the early stages of your retirement, you're in active retirement, or in the latter stages of life, seeking advice on maintaining your lifestyle and transitioning wealth to the next generation. So we can see that trusted advice from experienced professionals, of course, that's going to be critical. We'll now have a look at the two main stages of pension or retirement planning. So the two stages are accumulation and de-accumulation. So we've used an analogy of a mountain. So what we're saying is, whether you're ascending or descending a mountain, i.e. whether you're going up or down a mountain, it's critical to get advice to make sure you follow the right route. The same will apply to saving or accumulating money into a pension, or if we're thinking about decumulating and drawing money out from your pension plan. Just like conquering Everest, unfortunately, more people die on the way down. So understanding the plans for the next generation is important. And now that pensions, they're one of the most powerful tools to allow you to move or transition wealth to the next generation. So what we're thinking about is ways of passing this money to the future generation. Moving on to preparing for your retirement. So if you're getting close to retirement, I'm sure there's plenty of questions that you've got, that you're thinking about, or maybe should be thinking about. So some of the questions might be, what does retirement mean to you? How much income will I need when you retire? We're all different, so the answer is going to be different for every single person. How will you generate that income? i.e., where will that money come from? Which assets? What do you have that will allow you to generate that income? What are the tax implications? So we have to understand tax. We have to understand, is it the most tax efficient way that you are accessing your money? And am I using my assets to the greatest effect? So what I would say is, starting with the end in mind is really important, i.e. you need to know what you want to do. But the key thing is, how do we get there that's actually the challenge. So therefore, what we're saying is that the plan we create, that's going to be crucial to your long-term financial wealth. So when it comes to retirement planning, there's many questions, there's many decisions that need, of course, you need careful consideration. There are factors which apply differently to all of us. So understanding where we are, a framework from which we operate, and engaging professional advice is also essential. We'll have a look at the pillars of retirement planning. Now, they're the same in accumulation and deaccumulation as well. So have you thought, what does retirement actually look like? I know a lot of time we're busy working, the years soon creep up, the years soon disappear. And before we know it, 5 years, 10 years have gone, we're getting closer to retirement. But who's actually taking time to think about it? Or do you have a figure of how much money or income you're going to need at the point of retirement? If you think about it this way, you've worked for 35, 40 years, you want to be able to get to retirement and enjoy the right retirement. So a couple of bits of stats for you. The average pension fund size in the UK is £50,000, and this is according to research by Aegon in 2017. And they've broken this figure down further, that for men it's 73,600 and for women it's 24,900. However, surveys can be misleading. The average pension pot for those aged 55 to 65 is 105,500. If you get a 4% yield, for example, this is going to give you income just over £4,000 per annum. So how long will that last based on your required or desired level of income, your standard of living, your goals in retirement? So all of these will be important factors. So the question is, do you have a figure? And two, is that figure realistic? So what does retirement look like? So for this person, he's busy enjoying the sunset. So absolutely nice type of retirement to have. Abraham Lincoln said that the best way to predict the future is to create it. So what that means is, when it comes to retirement planning, we have many questions which need asking. Of course, you have to ask the questions, and many decisions that need careful consideration. So to begin, what does the longer term look like? What do you aspire to be doing in retirement? Do you have a plan? Now we'll have a look at how the three pillars combine to help make decisions around planning for retirement. So here we're looking at the impact of increased life expectancy. As a result of people living longer, of course, they need to spend more money on various things. So we know that, for example, that the state pension is a valuable benefit to be aware of. They have made some changes to the rules. So before I said it was a very good sustainable system, but now you'll need to have a minimum of 35 years worth of contributions to qualify for the full state pension. What you can do, one of the things you can do, is you can get a BR19 forecast, and this will give you an idea of what you're likely to receive. And it's also possible to buy extra years if you have a shortfall. Now, we have to also bear in mind that whatever state benefits or state pensions you're entitled to, they're unlikely to be enough to achieve the retirement that you may be looking for. So we know that increased life expectancy will continue to place a great strain on the state system, i.e., more, and that's one of the reasons why we've seen these changes to the qualification for the state pension. So what we're saying is, if there's more people living for a longer period of time, that means more people need to be putting money into that system to fund for people that are living for a longer time. So of course, it's crucial to understand what contribution is made by the employer, and of course your own options for personal pension. So when we talk about pensions, we're talking about employer contributions, you talk about personal contributions, and of course there's also tax relief on contributions as well. So we'll have a look at auto enrollment. So this is something that the government brought in a few years ago to ensure that both employers and employees began to contribute towards pensions. So this all came because there was a shortfall in terms of people putting in money for their pensions. People were not likely to have enough money for their retirement. People were living longer and longer. So your employer, if you wanted to know, your employer will be able to tell you the details of your scheme, how much they're putting in. And where you've got auto enrollment pension schemes with your employer, we'd always say, where possible, it's worth putting in the maximum money that your employer will match it to. So, for example, if you put in 5% and the employer will put in 10%, then clearly that makes sense to try and maximize the money that you can put into your employer scheme, just purely because the employer is providing this matching. So we'd always say to try and maximize the benefits through your employer scheme. And this is going to be important to help you achieve your longer term plans for retirement. Whatever you can put into a plan as early as possible, it's going to help significantly, purely because the money is invested, you're getting tax relief, you're getting the benefit of compound growth. So there's a lot of factors that take place where it accelerates the returns on your investments. So what we'll have a look at now is in terms of your personal allowance. So every individual has a personal allowance. We'll see that there have been a number of changes from 2010 up till now. So what we're saying is, since 2016-17, the maximum annual allowance has been £40,000, and it may be possible to carry forward unused allowances from previous tax years. So you can go back three tax years. You can make contributions. Of course, that's subject to certain earnings limits. You've got to have the earnings, or if you're a limited company, you've got to have the profits. Now, what the government did was they restricted the amount of tax relief that could be provided. So for high earners in previous years, they had actually reduced the allowance down to £4,000. Now, in the current, in the tax year 2020-2021, what the government, they changed the tapered annual allowance. So this affects those where they've got where they've got income or threshold income above £200,000 for the year, and adjusted income over £240,000. And what they did in for tax years 16-17 to 19-20, what the government said was that the tapered annual allowance affects those in any of these tax years if they had threshold income above 110,000 and adjusted income over £150,000. So what we're saying here is that the rules certainly can seem complex, and therefore, of course, advice should be sought to calculate your threshold income and, if necessary, your adjusted income. So it's also worth noting that money purchase annual allowance rules were introduced, and this was really to stop people from putting money into a pension and taking it all out. So what we're saying is, where people take the money out flexibly, i.e. more than your 25% allowance, if you take, let's say, for argument's sake, even £1 more than your 25% allowance, then that will restrict your future allowance, your future pension contribution to £4,000. So again, really important, before you start taking income from your plan, just think about the fact that you will only be able to put in £4,000 if you've taken out £1 more than your 25% allowance. So of course, pensions, of course, they're very powerful, but we need to also consider other savings, other investment strategies. They should be considered. So what we're saying is, not only do you need to take care when you're investing, but also what's being invested on your behalf. We'll have a look at the lifetime allowance. So with pensions, there's also something called the lifetime allowance, which is how much money you're allowed to have in a pension before there's additional charges. So what we've seen is these numbers have been changed by all governments, gradually reducing the allowances down. Right now, the allowance is capped at £1,073,000. So again, this will be subject to CPI increases going forward. So every year, this will increase in line with CPI, consumer price inflation. So if where people are above £1,073,000, of course, if they go above the allowance, it can create some complex issues, complex challenges, and therefore professional advice should be sought. And the thing I would also add to this about the 1,073,000, although the value might not be there, and you might think it's a long way. If you keep adding money in, government is putting in tax relief, your employer is adding money, you're getting growth, then you may be heading up to that. So just something to be aware of. So here, what we're talking about is intergenerational financial planning. So more and more times we're seeing the use of pensions, which can be used to pass assets to the next generation, i.e. your children, your grandchildren, and doing it in a tax efficient way. So what we're saying is, the good thing with giving money to your children, your grandchildren via a pension is it gives you control. The key thing is the children, they can't just take out this money. The money is not accessible till the age of 55, but again, it's a good way of making sure that money is there for a long time. It can continue to grow as well. So pensions, they're not just for adults. And remember, children won't always be kids, okay? So pension contributions, it's a great way of utilizing some of your allowances. It's a way of giving the money away, getting tax relief to generate an improved return as well. And here it says that up to £3,600 per year you can give away, you can put into each child's pension, child or grandchild. So you would have to put in £2,880 as a net contribution, and the government will top it up with tax relief, and that will bring the figure up to £3,600. Of course, other adults can contribute once it is set up, and with pensions, there's no, like adult pensions, there's no access until the age of 55. Now, this age of access will change to 57 from 2028. This all ties in with what I've said previously about life expectancy increasing. So we're now looking at why you should consider investing into a pension. What are the benefits? What kind of tax relief do you get when you invest in? So in this example, we're talking about investing £100 into a pension. If you're a basic rate taxpayer, you're going to pay £80, and the government will put in £20 for you, giving you £100. So that's attractive. If you're a 40% taxpayer, then you will put in £60, and the government will put in an additional £40. So that's even better. And if you're a additional rate taxpayer, i.e. a 45% taxpayer, then the tax reliefs are even better. You pay £55 and the government pays £44. So clearly that's very, very attractive. And the way I discuss pensions with my clients is essentially that they are one of the many investment wrappers that carry tax reliefs. So good thing is it allows you to improve returns. You get basic rate relief, it reduces the real cost, it inflates the value of your pension. Plus, so in this example, you're putting in 80 plus 20, the whole, or you're putting in 60 and they're putting in 40, the whole £100 is going to benefit from growth and compounding. And of course, the other thing to bear in mind is that pensions will give you more options, more flexibility in later life. So you can do things like flexi access drawdown. You can take your tax-free cash. It's inheritance tax-free. So if you think about inheritance tax, it's a useful vehicle. And also, because of the current rules, it could be tax-efficient income or capital for the beneficiaries. So here, what we're talking about is in terms of building a retirement portfolio. So there are many different bricks that we can use to create this portfolio. So, for example, to build your funds for retirement, you could invest into property. You could put money into ISA. You may receive an inheritance as well. You can put money into pensions. You can buy stocks and shares. You can hold cash in the bank, but unfortunately, with the interest rates as low as they are, you're not going to generate any sort of returns. You have got the state pension, but we have said it's probably not going to be sufficient, the amount of contribution from the state pension. There are things, what's called the LISA or the lifetime ISA, and there's also something called equity release. So what we're saying is there's many options, and we've got to consider all of the various options in terms of accumulating wealth in the future and what's going to be the most efficient way of accessing this money in the future. So this person or somebody is coming, they're in or approaching retirement. Again, they're going to have various questions. And this is mainly at the decumulation stage, i.e. phase 2. Basically, stage 1 was build up the money in your pension, i.e. the accumulation stage. The second stage is how do we take out this money? How do we make sure we don't run out of money? How do we make sure that the pension money survives for as long as we do? Here, some other questions that you may also think about. What are your options in retirement? With the changes, there are different ways that you can do things. What do I need or want in terms of income? How much do you need? How much is sufficient? Would you like a little bit extra cash? Certainly things to think about. How and when should you access your accumulated wealth? So, for example, if you take out your money very early or you're taking large withdrawals, then your pension fund value may decrease and therefore not leave you sufficient money in the future. We have to think about the tax implications because we don't want tax to be a major drain on your pension. And then what other considerations are now a priority? Other things that I would say that we should think about are, i.e., you should find out what you're entitled to in terms of state pension, private pensions. What can you access? When should you access? And also bear in mind your needs, your objectives. What is it that you're looking to do with this money at the point of retirement? What will it allow you to do? And it all comes back to thinking about and certainly being able to adapt your goals and continue to adapt them in the future. So here we've said that in terms of the pillars of retirement, we've got a similar structure when we get to the de-accumulation stage. The key things we're thinking about are income, generated income, and also getting access to capital. So it's all about understanding what you want your retirement to look like. Okay, so think about what you'll get from the state. You can do the state pension forecast, which will give you some idea of what's available. you have to look at all of your pensions. So, for example, all of your company pensions to see how much you have, what are the options, how they're performing, so various factors like that. What other provision have you made? So, for example, the other blocks that I talked about, so you may have rental income, you might have savings, you may have investments in your ISA. So this is all going to be part of money for your retirement. So the key question is how you should access and which ones you should access first. Let's have a look at state pension benefit. So this is going to be paid in addition to your personal pension. All pension income is taxable if you're above the personal allowance. It forms part of your retirement plan. The current maximum for the state pension, if you've had all your national insurance contributions, is £179.58 per week, or 9,344 for the current tax year. And you should also consider the state pension forecast. So what we're saying is, although the state pension might not necessarily give you everything you need to do, everything that you would like to do, it's still a valuable benefit that you're getting. There are options to consider in terms of state pension. So one of them is, do you consider deferring the date that you take the state pension, and this will allow you to improve the income you get? Or do you use the income that you're receiving to put money into to fund a personal pension scheme, and again benefit from tax relief as well? So all of this will depend on your circumstances, your requirements. This will vary from individual to individual, and again, it just reinforces the importance of taking advice on all aspects of retirement planning, not just retirement planning, but also aspects of financial planning, because they're all interlinked. So what is pension freedom? So this is something that the government introduced a few years ago. And this is giving you more options, more flexibility in terms of how you access your benefits. So in simple terms, there are 3 simple solutions, and you can do one or a combination of each, and they can be used in different ways. So let's start off with annuities, okay? So annuities are when you exchange your pension and you get a fixed amount of income in exchange for your lump sum of money. Now, annuities, they're not dead and buried. I know we're in the environment where we've got low yields, low interest rates, and all of this, of course, means that you're going to get lower annuity income rates. But this is still the only option. So if you need a guaranteed income for life, then annuity is the only thing that can give you a guaranteed income. So if you need a guaranteed income, annuity is going to be a really good option. If you don't need a guaranteed income, then there are some other things we can consider, which we'll come on to shortly. So, for example, a lot of pensioners, what they do is when it comes to retirement, all they do is they go for the annuity rate offered by the existing pension provider. Now they don't bother to shop around. Now, asking for advice on the open market options, looking at things like impaired life, and this is for people whose health is they're not quite as healthy as we once were. So this could be a valuable benefit, which could be worth extra income every year. The next option to consider is the uncrystallized funds pension lump sum, this UFPLS. So what happens is this allows you to take all or a chunk of your pension, and this is going to be 25% will be tax-free and 75% will be taxable income. So for every time you take this UFPLS, 25% will every segment or chunk that you take out, it will be 25% tax-free and 75% will be taxable income. There's also what's called flexi access drawdown. So this is quite honestly, it's just what as it sounds. So this allows you a lot of choices. You can leave some in, you can take some tax-free cash, you can take some income, you can do a combination of the two. The key thing is it's totally flexible. Now, the key thing to bear in mind is that there are different tax consequences and considerations for each route. And therefore, again, it's going to be critical to discuss your options with experienced financial planners. And the key thing with an experienced financial planner is they should understand the pension environment, but also understand your circumstances, because the advice has to be specific and relevant to your situation, your circumstances. We'll now have a look at leaving your leaving your pension pot. What are the options with regards to pensions? So, because of the changes around pension tax treatment at the point of death, you may wish to consider leaving your pension beneficial. And this would be, if you were to die before the age of 75, your beneficiaries can get the money free of income tax, free of capital gains tax. So pensions are very attractive from that point of view. So they're far more flexible. They can go on to the next generation. Pensions can now go from generation to generation. So if you're thinking about the long term, you're thinking about inheritance tax, you're thinking about passing money free to family members, free of tax on death. Then things like pensions, flexi access drawdown, it can save families, it can save you thousands, literally thousands in inheritance tax. So moving forward, looking into the crystal ball. And obviously, the crystal ball gets more and more difficult to predict what's going to happen, what kind of changes will be coming in. What I would say is pensions is a big area. We can't predict what's going to be needed in a later life. We don't know what's going to happen to us, what our situation will be, what our health will be. We don't know the answers to a lot of these questions. So what we would say, it's important that what you have is a flexible strategy that will allow you to adapt according to those requirements. So here, what we're talking about is retirement planning is all about planning. So the conventional retirement, as you may think of it, no longer exists. The world is different from a retirement point of view. So, for example, if you have an active life at retirement, you're going to need higher income. So we need to plan that in. If you're less active, then you're going to need less income. But we also need to take into account in terms of residential care home. So what happens if you're fortunate enough to live to the ripe old age? You've got long life, but you're unfortunate enough to need residential care or some sort of care that's going to be able to help you in your latter years of life. So you need to make sure that you've got either income or capital available to allow you to make sure that you can still have some standard of lifestyle. So what we're looking here is we're looking at life expectancy. So we've mentioned the reasons for better survival rates, and these will be things like smoking prevalence, medical interventions, and of course healthy diet and lifestyle. These are all important things. What we're saying is there's been improvements in pharmaceuticals. There is a lot more knowledge, a lot more awareness about healthy food and nutrition, and also the general improved standards of living. So all of these factors combined means that reaching the ripe old age of 100 will not be that uncommon in the future. It's going to become more and more common. So looking at retirement going forward, what does it look like in terms of having money in your retirement? That could come from pensions, it could come from your investments, your house, your property, your buy-to-lets, part-time work as well. So again, we're talking about flexible requirements, we're talking about a flexible structure, and we're talking about having a diversified, not just one investment strategy, but different investment strategies that will allow you to generate income and capital as required in retirement. So now we're looking at in terms of how should you be investing the money. So there's essentially 4 main blocks that we consider here. So you could put your money into cash, but the rates are low. Inflation is creeping up ahead of cash, so cash will leave you poorer in real terms when we take into account the impact of course, inflation. Your money will be worth less in the future. We could look at putting money into property. So you have residential property, you may have buy-to-let property, commercial property, and it may be a good asset class because it also provides diversification. You could look at putting money into equities, the stock market, investing in shares of companies. So as the stock market as the company generates more profit, share price or dividends will increase as well. And the other thing you could consider is fixed interest, so corporate bonds, government gilts, that sort of thing. So what we're saying is here, the key thing is in terms of your portfolio of investments, it's really important that you've got a well-diversified investment strategy across different financial products and solutions. And where you should be invested should be driven by your own needs, goals, and objectives. So there are multiple benefits from having a diversified portfolio of investments. So we'll now have a look at, for example, on this page, we're looking at St. James's Place portfolios. So at St. James's Place, we have different types of portfolios. So you can see that there are different risk profiles because everyone's risk profile is going to be different. So here we've got a whole range of different portfolios to help you generate income, to help you to generate growth. Some people will want growth plus income as well. And you have to also think about how long do you have that you can invest this money for. So those people that have got a longer time to invest can afford to take on a little bit more risk. Those people that are closer to retirement or got less time will want to take on, may want to take on less risk or less fluctuations in their investments. So these portfolios, they're a starting point. We can use them to create bespoke solutions, and ultimately they're flexible and we can change them as things go by. So the key challenge is to find the right drivers in terms of putting behind the wheel to achieve the desired outcome for our investors. So on the next slide, we're going to have a look a little bit more about what we do at St. James's Place here with these investments. So what we do here is we look at fund managers on a global basis because we believe that best fund managers are not just in the UK. Now, St. James's Place have a lot of clients, and they're the investors. We've got many professional investors, and our investments are held in high esteem. And this is due to our distinctive approach to investment management. I'll go through it. So basically, there's three main principles that we follow in terms of investing and managing your money. And these three are select, monitor, change. And I'll explain what each of these is now. So like I said, the first job is to find the right talent to put behind the wheel when looking to drive. So what we're looking to do is we're looking to generate growth or income, and we do that by using a combination. So we use internal, we use external expertise. We don't invest the client's money with other companies or fund managers. What we do is we get in touch with those fund managers and we ask them to run our own funds. This has many benefits for our clients. Once we've selected the right fund manager to run the funds, we will then, what we'll do is we'll keep an eye on them, and we're also bold enough to accept that no one is good enough to manage your money into perpetuity. Think about it. Things will change. Change is going to be inevitable. So the right fund manager now might not be right in the future, and there's going to be many different reasons why this might be the case. So first of all, they might retire, they might move on. Their style may go out of favor, that their style or the types of investments they're going for. So the key thing here is the ability to deal with change. It's built into the DNA of our approach. So here we've got a little bit more information about select, monitor, and change. The key thing is that we're able to act quickly and make changes where required. So moving on to the need for tailored financial planning and access to a robust and effective investment strategy has never been stronger. We know that the challenges are more complex. We know that things are changing. So we know that the combination of tailored financial advice from experienced professionals and coupled with a dynamic and forward. So what we're doing is we're forward looking with regards to our investments. And this creates a powerful combination, and this allows us to deliver, to achieve the right results for our clients. So let's have a look at the facts of life. The statistics that I mentioned previously show that almost everyone has to save more for their retirement. We're living longer, things are becoming more expensive, makes sense. If you don't accumulate enough, you do run the risk of outliving your savings. So it's important that you're building up money, you're taking advantage of the tax opportunities from pensions, and you're matching this up to the lifestyle you want in retirement. Remember, things will change, your requirements will change. So it's making sure that you've got the options. You need to determine how much you'll need to save. So good thing would be to start bringing money from as early as possible into a pension. Then it's growing, and you benefit from compounding over a long period of time as well. And what you should do is, once you've made a plan, you should commit to the plan and take action to move forward. Sometimes people do think about various things. They want to do things like, for example, pensions, maybe wills might be another sort of thing. But you know what happens? Life takes over, things happen, and unfortunately, you don't always get a chance. Although you think about it, you want to do it, other things will happen, and it kind of falls off your radar. And obviously, that will have an impact on your wealth as well. So what we're saying now, the key thing is, in terms of reviews, you should. We know that circumstances will change. Your requirements will evolve. Age, health, life expectancy, those are key factors. And what we're saying is government rules, taxation, budgets, all of these things will change. So this is why we say that you should continually make sure you review your existing plans, your existing arrangements, to make sure that you're on the right road to success. Now, as they say on this slide, the road to success is always under construction. So things are evolving, but the key thing is to understand your pensions and to understand the options available. So that brings me to the end of the slides, end of the presentation. So thank you everyone for listening. I hope you found that enjoyable and informative as well. And I'm ready for questions now as well.
First of all, straight hour, Dipesh bhai, non-stop. I think you deserve a drinks break. Pani ke kai pi lyo to.
I got funny with me.
That's what I mean. Non-stop. Really informative.
Explained very well. Yes.
Very, very interesting outlook, especially when in our offset of generations, we've always been talking about pensions, but pensions have been not relative in this current. It really shows currently that pensions are not relative at this present moment because people's lives are, people are living longer. And the concept which was being used is no longer valid now. We need to look at it more on-moving method of looking after ourselves on the financial side. So very, very interesting. Thank you very much for sharing that with us.
Do we want to stop the share screen?
Yeah.
And then we can take the questions.
One thing I was going to ask, Dipesh bhai, is a lot of people ask for your number. So if you can quickly put a slide together while Rohini is talking with your number and details, so people can make a note of it on for themselves. That way, it'll be either you can put it on the chat or put it on the screen, and maybe
Here it is.
Brilliant. There you go. Perfect.
So my contact details are there. My email address is there. If you've got a question, please just feel free, pick up the phone, email me. We can arrange a meeting. The other thing that's a lot of people like to do is that I know that people are going to be busy maybe the next 2-3 weeks with Diwali, Navratri, all of these things coming up. And although we've gone through things and people are thinking about things, in a few weeks, people will probably have forgotten. So a lot of people find it easier just to drop me an email, just say, look, can you give me a call in 3 weeks time or 4 weeks time? Look, I'm busy in October, or I've got some family things going on. Then what I can do is I can make a note on my system and then arrange to get in touch with you when it's going to be a convenient time. So that way it's still on your radar. Otherwise it gets forgotten about.
Sure, I'm just going to repeat that in Gujarati. કોઈને બી દીપેશભાઈનો નંબર જોઈતો હોય, ઈમેલ જોઈતો હોય તો અત્યારે સ્ક્રીન ઉપર દેખાય છે. તમારે ફોટો પાડવો હોય કે પેન ને પેપરથી લખી લેવું હોય નંબર તો તમે લખી શકો છો. અને કદાચ if we move take this off for the question and answer, તેમ છતાં પાછળ ઇવન આજ ના યાદ આવે ને આવતીકાલે યાદ આવે, તમે મને અથવા તો પરેશને પણ ફોન કરી દીપેશભાઈનો નંબર જોઈએ તો લઈ શકો છો. અને તમને એવું લાગે કે હમણાં નવરાત્રી દિવાળી બધું આવે છે, હમણાં હું બિઝી છું, મારાથી આ મારે વાત કરવી છે વિગતમાં તો મારે દીપેશભાઈ સાથે, તો તમે એને અત્યારે ફોન કરી અને તમે કહેજો કે તમે મને અથવા ઈમેલ કરી શકો તો વધારે સારું. તમે એમ કહેજો કે મારે મહિના દિવસ પછી તમારી સાથે વાત કરવી છે, તો દીપેશભાઈ તમારું નામ નંબર લઈ અને મહિના દિવસ પછી તમારી સાથે વાત કરવા તૈયાર હશે. એટલે કોઈ તમે સંકોચ નહીં રાખતા. જ્યારે બી તમને વાત કરવી હોય, દીપેશભાઈ કેટલો સારી રીતે કહે છે કે તમારી સાથે ગમે ત્યારે વાત કરવા તૈયાર છે. તો આપણે સમયને માન આપી એમને ઇનફ ટાઈમ આપવાનો કે તમારે મારા પ્રશ્ન પૂછવો છે તો મને ક્યારે તમને ટાઈમ છે, હું તમારી સાથે વાત કરી શકું. નંબર અને ઈમેલ સ્ક્રીન ઉપર અત્યારે દેખાય છે. જેને લખવું હોય
with questions, you won't need to because you're reading them out to me. So we'll leave it on there.
Okay. Again, Dipesh bhai, thank you very, very much for very informative talk. That again, ખાલી એકદમ જ briefly, મને બધું નથી ખબર પડતી, પણ આજની જે ટોક મને કોઈ પૂછતું તું શું હશે, મેં કીધું હું એ બેસીસ ત્યારે જ મને ખબર પડશે. સો આ શું છે કે હવે અત્યારે પેલા હતું 60-65 રિટાયર થઈ જતા હતા, બધું આમ ફિક્સ હતું, પણ હવે આપણી આવરદા છે, જે આયુષ છે એ વધતું જાય છે, એમ રિટાયરમેન્ટ એજ પણ વધતી જાય છે. પેન્શન મોડેથી મળશે, પેન્શન મળશે ત્યારે કેટલું હશે, આપણા માટે એટલું પૂરતું હશે કે નહીં, એના માટે થઈને આપણે આગળની જોગવાઈ કરવી જોઈએ, આપણું ભવિષ્ય માટે. હું બોલું છું ખાલી, આ બધું દીપેશભાઈ સમજાવ્યું છે, હું કહું છું કે આપણે આપણી પોતાની સેફટી જોવી જોઈએ કે આગળ જતા મારા પાસે પૈસા ઇનફ હશે, ભવિષ્યમાં શું થશે કોઈને કાંઈ ખબર નથી. બધા સંજોગો બદલતા રહે છે, આયુષ વધતું જાય છે, અને આયુષ વધવાનું કારણ શું છે કે અત્યારે દવાની આપણે બહુ બધી ફેસિલિટી વધારે છે, અને માણસો અત્યારે હેલ્ધી ઈટિંગ, પોતાની જાતનું બધું ધ્યાન રાખવાનું, કસરત કરે છે, સારું ખાવાનું, આરોગ્ય બધું હેલ્ધી ખાવાનાનું ધ્યાન રાખે છે. એને લીધે થઈને આયુષ્ય વધતું જાય છે. આયુષ્ય વધતું જાય છે એમ એમ આ બધી વસ્તુ થોડી આગળ ને આગળ જતી જાય છે. પેન્શન એજ દર વર્ષે કાંઈ ને કાંઈ થોડા, હવે આ તમારા ક્યારે તમારો જન્મ હોય એના ઉપર ડિપેન્ડ કરી, અને પેલા તો એમ જ હતું 60 ઓલું મળતું હતું, ફ્રીડમ પાસ મળતા હતા, અને પછી 65 હજી અત્યારે ઘણું છે આપણી પાસે, એવું નથી, પણ બીજા 5 વર્ષ, બીજા 10 વર્ષ આગળ જતા શું છે ભવિષ્યમાં એ કોઈને ખબર નથી. તો બધાએ પોતપોતાની રીતથી આપણું ભવિષ્યને સંભાળી લેવાનું માટે, અને પેન્શનના પોટ કે છે એ જુદી જુદી રીતનું ઘણું બધું સમજવાનું હતું. દીપેશભાઈ આપણને બધું સમજાવ્યું છે. હજુ પણ આપણે જે સમજ ના આવી હોય, આ યુટ્યુબ ઉપર છે, વારે વારે તમે જેટલી વાર જોવું હોય ઇંગ્લિશમાં પોઝ કરી, કોઈ ઘરે આવ્યું હોય તમે થોડુંક રાખી દો કે આને શું કહેવાય. અગેન બધા તમારી પાસે કોઈ પણ હેલ્પ જોતી હશે, દીપેશભાઈ we will try and forward it to you all the messages. તમને હવે નંબર છે, તો પ્લીઝ આપણે અત્યારે જ ખાલી જેમ કીધું કે આ સાંભળીને વયા જાય, અત્યારે આપણા મગજમાં એમ થતું આ બહુ બધું છે, મને બહુ સમજ નથી પડી. શાંતિથી વારે વારે યુટ્યુબ ઉપર જઈ અને આ જોતા રહેજો, સાંભળતા રહેજો. ધીમે ધીમે આપણને સમજ વધારે પડશે. તેમ છતાં પ્રશ્ન હોય તો હંમેશા અહીંયા તમારા પ્રશ્નોના જવાબ માટે હાજર જ છે. હવે we will quickly take the questions, if that's okay, Dipeshbhai.
Yeah, absolutely fine.
I mean, I only had one question prior to the meeting. I did send that to you.
Sure. So, yeah, if you want to just read out the question, I've looked at the question. Yeah.
Okay, that was, I'm just going to, why am I looking at? I'm looking at just once. The question was, it is, we hear in media that many pensioners, DWP, Department of Pension, have been miscalculated and underpaid. So how can one check whether one's husband or wife has been paid the correct amount?
So the answer to that would be, first of all, the first point would be to contact the DWP to request a statement of what you're entitled to and how much you're getting. So the national insurance, the amount of money you receive will be based on the amount of national insurance contributions you've paid and for how long. So there's always a record at DWP in terms of your national insurance contributions, and from there they can work out the state pension.
I hope that helps. But if, like we say, if you're still unsure of anything, by all means, still time to put on the chat. I'm just going to take, whether, I don't know, well, luckily, whatever, there's not many questions, but there are a few, and we'll take them. And like we said, people will grasp and maybe come back later on when it registers. So let's
try to keep the questions relevant to the topic.
Of course. આપણે આજે જે છે પેન્શનનું છે, so we take questions that are relative to pension, retirement planning. Sorry. Narendra Bhai has put a message saying his wife Sumitra Ben, now 63 and will be 64 in November. During lockdown, she was made redundant after working for Boots, the chemist, for 20 years. She was severely suffering from arthritis on her legs and knee, now on income support allowance. Can she retire? There's a couple of people who've asked at the age of 55, can one retire? Or in this situation, this is a medical condition, can they retire at 63 or different age than the designated age from government?
Yeah, so normally the earliest you can access money from a pension is going to be the age of 55. However, if there's medical ill health grounds, then yes, you can retire. The key thing is, you can certainly access money from a pension earlier, but it all depends on what the nature of those medical problems are.
Okay, hope that helps.
But if they're 63, that's fine. They're already above the age of 55. I think it might be, of course, it's different if you're under 55, but if you're over 55, you're entitled to take the benefits. It's within the rules anyway.
Okay. I think there's Kalpana been asked whether she can retire at 55, but which there's no further information.
So the answer is yes, you can retire at 65. But remember, like I said, now there's no retirement. There's no retirement dates. If you want to work beyond 65, you also can work. If you're fit and healthy, you enjoy your work, then yeah, you can carry on. There's no retirement date now.
Sorry, Dipesh, by 55, 50 and 5.
Oh, she's 55, yeah?
55.
Yeah, so if you retire at 55, the question would be, okay, yes, it might be nice to retire at 55, but for most people, it might not be 100% possible, because maybe you've still got a mortgage, maybe you still have not young children, but you've still got children that might be still dependent. And if you think that we're living longer, we might need to build up more funds. But obviously, if you've already made all of your money, you've got enough property, income, assets, everything, then yes, you can retire, or you can reduce the amount of work you do from 5 days to 4 to 3 to 2. Maybe gradually reduce, or you could totally stop. So yes, the options are there.
Okay.
But isn't that the case that you will not get your state pension till the age of your retirement date?
Correct. You can stop working at any time, but if you stop at 55 and your pension's not due till 65 or 66, then you have to work. You have to bridge that gap some other way. You've got 10 years of using up other assets.
Okay. So, also, can the wife get any share of husband's DWP pension if he dies before his wife, or if wife dies before the husband?
I think this is going to be more to do with if they haven't taken the benefits. If they have started taking benefits, I'd have to look into it. I don't know the answer off the top of my head, but if you want to email me that question, I can check it and come back to you with that one.
I'm sure they heard that, so
But
the email is there.
I think the question may be related to whether it's possible to transfer to another person, but which I wouldn't have thought would be the case. But that's is that correct?
Yeah, I don't think you can. I don't think you can transfer it, but there is something to do with the unused or unclaimed pension. But I'd have to look into it in more detail.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Questions. What happens to pension pot if you die after 75? Tax implications to survivors? So
the survivors. So if the pension policy holder dies after the age of 75, then if they take it as income or they take it as capital, i.e. lump sum, then the beneficiaries will pay tax at their marginal rates. If they're 20% taxpayers, they'll pay 20%. If they're 40% taxpayers, they'll pay 40%. So what might be beneficial, if they don't need that money at that stage, they're working, they've still got income coming in, then it might be that they leave the pensions, let it continue to grow, and then take the income when their tax position changes. So if their tax position changes in the future from a 40% to 20%, or when they stop working 20% to nil rate, then it's going to be more tax efficient to take the income at that point.
Okay. Yeah, a lot to take in. Now, next question, I don't know whether it's relevant to this, but I will repeat. Can you transfer your freehold property in trust to your children if you're living on your own? Like I said.
Can you transfer your freehold property into a trust if you're living on your own? So are they living in the property as well?
No idea. All is she says, can you transfer your freehold property in trust to your children if you are living on your own? So maybe.
So if you transfer the property to your children and you continue to live in the property, then you're breaking the gift with reservations. So gift with reservations, when you give something away, you shouldn't get any benefit. But if you transfer it and you still live there, then the revenue will say, well, you're still getting all this benefit. So that question would need a bit more detail.
Yeah. She just messaged saying no, as in she's not living on her own. I take that, but we can always ask her for more in-depth question. Next one is Hinaben is saying, I have paid 42 stamps. I was told I need only 30 stamps to qualify for full pension. I claim my pension in 2015. I get less state pension than people who claim in 2016. They don't need full stamps. They get full pension. My pension is COD and post 97. Could you please explain me what does this stand for?
COD, that's to do with the calculation of the pensions. It's the calculation basis. But if you've overpaid the stamps, what I would suggest you do is you get in touch with the DWP, Department for Work and Pensions, and ask them to clarify it. If you have overpaid it, you may be entitled to a refund of that.
Okay, so I hope that answers your question, Hinaben. So if there is any further, you've got the email for Dipesh Bhai. By all means, you can email Dipesh Bhai. Also, Ranjan and Parthiban, you did wanted to see the slides again, but like I said, it's on YouTube, so we can watch that again. And Diptiben did say something about if you can give us more detail about equities, but I think the question came before you. Oh yes, please explain more about equity release.
Equity release, yes. So this is where you've got a property. You've got the assets, but you haven't necessarily got the income. So one option might be to take out equity release. What would happen is the money you take out, like by the form of a mortgage secured against the property, that money you don't pay any interest back until you pass away. So what happens is over the years the interest will accumulate. Now, if the property price, if the interest rate is greater than the appreciation on your property, it could create some problems there. But it might be suitable for some people, but again, it's something that you'd have to take detailed advice on to make sure that that's the right thing. It might be right for some people, but not for everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Dipesh Bhai. Hope that helps. Diptiben again is asking, why do pension providers want you to go through FPA financial, right? FPA when you
FCA, yeah.
She's saying FPA when you withdraw pension funds. You know,
it's purely to do with the fact that pensions are complex. There are a number of considerations that you need to take into account. So, for example, one of the things was with regards to flexi access drawdown. If you take out more than 25%, i.e. 25% and even £1, then you're going to suddenly restrict how much money you can still put into a pension. Now, you may still wish to put money into a pension because you can put money into a pension up to the age of 75. Some people, if you just go and buy an annuity, that doesn't mean it's going to be the right thing for you to do. Annuities may be suitable if you need the certainty of a fixed income, But if you don't need a fixed income, then annuity, because the rates are so low at the moment, you're then getting stuck in something which you cannot change. Those are the things. But there's also things to do with withdrawals. So if you're taking out 5, 6, 7, 8%, you're taking large amounts, then there is a strong possibility that your pension fund may get depleted earlier. Or if you're just taking money out and you're putting it into your estate, you're creating more inheritance tax problems. No good taking the money out from a pension, which is a protected environment for inheritance tax, and putting it into your bank account, which is not growing. The interest rates are low, and it's in your estate for inheritance tax. So there are a lot of factors to consider. The key thing is, once you've done something, a lot of these things cannot be reversed easily. Like if you buy an annuity, you're stuck with an annuity. If you go for the wrong type of annuity, or you're getting one which is not as good, you're stuck. If you access more cash, that creates some restrictions on how much you can put in. Then there's stuff to do with inheritance. It's because it's all interlinked, and it covers not just a pension, but it covers other things. Any money in a pension is also protected. So there is a lot of benefits. They want people to seek advice just purely because it's complicated, and the advisors, the companies, the insurance companies, don't want to be having the liability. They don't provide advice. They will send you paperwork. These are your options A, B, and C, and that's it. Because they don't get involved in advice. That's not what they're there to do. They're there to just give you the pension pot, the wrapper, the funds, that sort of thing. Other things, they haven't got time to speak to hundreds of thousands of people about what they should do. And then the responsibility falls on them. They don't want that.
That's it. Yeah, thank you. Nina Ben is saying, I'm 58 years old. She's worked for council for 9 years, civil service 17 years. Left work, took redundancy, and started civil service work pension early retirement. Now, she didn't claim income support and wasn't sure if she was entitled. Now, not claiming any benefit, just my DWP pension. What I do with my council pension pot? Who would be able to help in sorting this out? Also, she doesn't know how national insurance contribution stems. How much to add to receive full pension?
So in order to understand how much she needs to national insurance stamps, we would say you can get in touch with the DWP. They will give you a statement of how much you've paid so far. They will give you the information of how much extra money you need to pay to make up the shortfall. And they will give you the advice or the information that if you put in this much money, you will receive this much money as a pension. So you have to find out your contributions.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think we've covered it all, but if someone else after our question has said they have contacted DWP and they're saying there was a the amount, and they're saying they've paid it right. So in that case, please, whoever is, there's an email for Dipesh Bhai, because at the moment, that's how much Dipesh Bhai can just take your question and reply to it as best as he can. But આનાથી વધારે જો અત્યારે તમને એમ લાગતું હોય કે હજુ થોડો જવાબ વધારે જોઈએ છે, તો ઈમેલ અહીંયા છે. તમે દીપેશભાઈને તમારા પ્રશ્ન સાથે ઈમેલ કરજો અને તમને પછી વધારે જવાબ આપી શકશે. અત્યારે બનતી કોશિશ કરી છે કે તમારા પ્રશ્નોના જવાબ તમને મળી શકે અને થોડી આપણને મનને શાંતિ થાય. પણ તેમ છતાં વધુ વિગત માટે દીપેશભાઈનો નંબર ઉપર અને ઈમેલ ઉપર સંપર્ક કરજો. If anybody needs any more further information, please contact on the given telephone number as well as the email. Email would be the best option, so that if Dipesh Bhai is busy, he can always get back to you via email as soon as he can. So please put in any further information if you require on email. Abba is asking a question. Sorry.
રિટાયર પછી નેશનલ ઇન્સ્યોરન્સ ભરવાનો ના હોય ને?
ના રિટાયર થઈ ગયો પછી નેશનલ ઇન્સ્યોરન્સ ના ભરવું પડે તમે તમારી પાસે ઓલું શોર્ટફોલ હોય તો તમે you can pay make up ઓલું શોર્ટફોલ તમે if તમે શોર્ટફોલ કરી નાખો તો એ લોકો થોડાક વધારે પૈસા આપશે તમારા પેન્શનમાં
ઓકે એમાં કાંઈ તમે જો ઇનફ ના ભર્યું હોય પણ તમે તો ભર્યું હતું એટલે તમારા કેસમાં બરોબર છે બટ ફોર એનીવન એલ્સ કોઈ બીજા કોઈ જે થોડો તફાવત રહેતો હોય તમે બરોબર એ ભરી ના હોય તમારી સ્ટેમ્પ્સ ને એમાં કાંઈ ઓછા થતા હોય તો તમે એટલા ભરી દો તો તમને પેન્શન થોડું જે મળવું જોઈએ એટલું મળે Is that right? Yeah. Okay, I think we have. Is there another one? I'm just going to check final time. What about council pot pension? Again, Ninaben, I hope you can send an email because what Ninaben said was she worked in council for 9 years. So what about her that 9 years pension pot?
Sure, we can look at that and advise you what you need to do.
Okay, I think that is all the questions are done. So we want to take the share screen now.
Is there?
Yeah.
રિટાયર થઈ ગઈ છે પછી ઇન્કમ વધારે હોય તો એનો તો ટેક્સ મને લાગે જ ને
આ રિટાયરમેન્ટ પ્લાનિંગમાં ને એ આપણું ઇનહેરિટન્સ ટેક્સ નું કર્યું હતું ને
We can speak to him separately about it.
એટલે આપણે ફોન કરીને કે ઈમેલ કરીને વધારે ઇન્ફોર્મેશન જોશે ને તો આપણે દીપેશ ઈમેલ કરું so same goes for everyone if there is a quick question still 2 minutes few minutes if you can put it on the chat otherwise I think a big
Thank you very much, Dipesh.
your time and effort like you say I know money is very very important but most valuable is your time and એ તમે તમારો અમૂલ્ય સમય RPM family members ને આપો છો so we are very very grateful I'm going to let everyone before we unmute everyone just I know because once we unmute you're going to get lots of thank yous but I will repeat myself do you want to say anything before we હું મારું જે કહેવાનું છે એ કહી sorry Dipesh bhai you can say a big thank you to our YouTube followers and you can say thank you and good night so that before we
thank you to all the RPM thank you for organizing it and also thank you to YouTube as well so hopefully the hits will be going up
that's thank you
need to get at least 100 hits
That will be quite. We normally get more than that. So I think there's about 12, 13 people listening right now on YouTube, so which is good. Thank you very much to all our YouTube family. Don't forget to subscribe and like the talk. So click on the thumbs up as well as for notifications. Click on the bell so you pick up on your notifications. And thank you very much for